Blessings. Welcome to today's Law Enforcement Daily Devotional. Today we're in Matthew chapter 9, Mark chapter 2, and Luke chapter 5. And today we're going to continue to put pieces in our puzzle of this New Testament story that we're building on. And this is I don't know that I've explained why we're doing this. We've talked about Capernaum and some of the things that are going on the last couple of days, but in my personal opinion, and it's just mine, nothing to back it up, the centurion of great faith, the story out of Matthew chapter 8, is to me the single greatest law enforcement story, applicable lesson that we in law enforcement can take away. And I've studied the Bible for years, and I've always, not always, but I have had this bent or this viewpoint where I look for law enforcement takeaways in the Bible. And we've talked about that the whole year through this Bible read. But like I said the last couple of days, even though I haven't told you, I'm building into this story, this one incident that I think is the greatest law enforcement takeaway in the entire Bible. And so today I'm building on it again, putting the puzzle pieces together. And so with that, let's hop right into it. Chapter 9, verse 1, Jesus got into the boat and he went to his own city. That's what Matthew chapter 9, verse 1 says. It doesn't say what his own city was, but we've already talked about it. He made his headquarters, his home in Capernaum. Now, after I read Matthew chapter 9 and got into Mark chapter 2, verse 1, it's almost the same verse, except instead of saying Jesus went to his own city, he just says Jesus went to Capernaum. So he confirms what we already know in 9:1. But, and to that point, Mark and Luke today mirror Matthew chapter 9, and there's always a few changes, a few things here and there that are different, but we're going to stay in Matthew chapter 9 today. I think we stayed in Mark yesterday, but in 9:2, it says, seeing their faith. This is the story where Jesus in Capernaum has this huge crowd come to him to hear him speak. And because a huge crowd was there, you can bet that the centurion that we keep referring to, he's there as well, because he's charged with keeping the peace. He's basically the sheriff of the city, and he has to keep the peace. So when the whole city shows up and there's a religious or a political figure, they got to be there and make sure that they're not causing an insurrection or telling people to riot, get rid of this occupying force that is the Roman legion. Just they've got to be there to put down anything, any uprising. So you can bet he's there, our Roman centurion, and he's listening. He's got to be close enough to hear anything that Jesus says that gives clues that they may be trying to do something. So even though I got so excited this morning after I got done, I told a coworker about the story, and I said, if it was a movie, you'd have this focus, this tunnel vision on Jesus and his teaching. And this is the same in a lot of these stories. But if the camera pans out to the crowd, all of a sudden, here or here or here, you're going to see that Roman centurion in a lot of these stories if you just panned out. That's what I think we see here today. I think he was in the crowd. I'm pretty certain he was watching. And he sees Jesus. He listens to his preaching, and he sees Jesus heal this guy. And I'm going to put him on the back burner for a second and talk about this healing. In Jewish times, when someone was lame or blind or had leprosy, the Jews thought that this illness was due to sin. And if that was true, we would all be on our deathbed. But neither here nor there. So when Jesus sees these friends dropping their friend through the ceiling to him, Jesus, it says, he sees their faith. Now, Jesus doesn't say, oh, you're healed. No, Jesus says your sins are forgiven. Because the friends who drop him down have that mindset of, we would like him to be healed from whatever it was, whatever sin he committed that made him this way. So Jesus says, okay, your sins are forgiven. Now, it doesn't say you're healed or anything like that, but the Pharisees make the point of saying, oh, you can't forgive sins. And he says, well, watch me. Okay, you're also healed, so pick up your mat and go home. And I love how this goes together. We see in John chapter 9, verse 2, when when Jesus' disciples asked Jesus about the blind man, saying, who sinned, the blind man or his parents? See, there was this thought, and even the friends, they lower him down, maybe not even thinking, I'm sure they were thinking that Jesus would heal him, but the whole underlying problem was the guy's sin. And this guy's friends loved him so much they brought him to Jesus. And Jesus says, well, if the underlying effect is sin, then your sins are forgiven. And I just love the thought of that. Anyway, back to our centurion, chapter 9, verse 6, authority comes up. The centurion was there. He's heard Jesus mention authority. And because Jesus says, to show you that the Son of Man has authority, and he hears that authority, then Jesus heals. Chapter 9, verse 8 says, when the crowd saw this, they were filled with awe, and they praised God who had given such authority to man. Okay, the centurion, being in the crowd, would have heard all this. And I think somewhere it clicks that this guy has authority. And we haven't got to it yet, but I'm going to jump ahead and I'm going to tell you real quick why this is important. In chapter 8, verse 5, well, we're going to jump over to chapter 8, verse 8, because I'm running out of time. The centurion replied, Lord, I do not deserve to have you come under my roof, but just say the word, and my servant will be healed. For I myself am a man under authority, with soldiers under me, and I tell this one, go, and he goes, and that one, come, and he comes, and I say to my servant, do this, and he does it. The centurion is banking on Jesus' authority to heal his servant. And the reason he knows Jesus has authority is because of things like this. And yesterday, if you remember, when they were in the synagogue, people were also saying, Jesus teaches like a man with authority. And this authority theme keeps coming and going. And the centurion is hearing it. And that's, I think, why he says to Jesus, I understand your authority. Tomorrow we're going to be in John chapter 5, Matthew 12, 1 through 21, Mark 2, 23 through 3:12, and Luke 6, 1 through 11. Look forward to seeing you here tomorrow. In the meantime, be safe.